Next up, we have the testing maestro Samyak Jain. So, do you think ऐसा कभी भी लगता है कि यार लाइफ के कुछ प्रॉब्लम अगर कंट्रोल जेड हो जाए तो कितना अच्छा होगा? तो जब भी अभी ऐसी लाइफ चल रही है कि यार हर मोमेंट मोए मोए हो रहा है, किसी का हो रहा है अस भाई अस, एनीवन? So, so basically that can't be done. But Samyak is about to show us how to do something similar in the world of coding. The practical way to code testing with well-tested AI. So let's give a warm welcome to the man who tests better than kuch to gadbad hai daya. So yeah, Samyak, over to you.
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for the warm introduction. And yeah, my name is Samyak, and I have built this tool, which is called Welltested AI. As many of you may know or may have heard from me, that I also come from Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad is my home city, and it's been thrilling that we are having our beloved Flutter event, the most anticipated FlutterConf here in Ahmedabad. The energy has been amazing. Like, I've been on the booth all day. People are so energetic. Everybody wants to know a lot of things, and it's just like so much fun already. Uh, Whenever I am someone who attend a lot of conferences, be it developer conference, be it startup conferences. Like, I am the guy who's always there. And whenever I'm attending a conference, I try to ask myself, like, why are we here? Like, what's the main purpose of being here among the community? So I like to ask you the same. By a show of hand, who of us are here to learn some new things? Watch the amazing speaker lineup. Like, who of us are here for that? Almost all of us, and that's great. Like, who among us are here like to network with people, to make new friends, see what's going on in the community? Almost all of us. And I'm sure like some of us are also here to find solution to problems that have been bugging us all year long. And today I'm here to discuss one such problem, which is testing our applications. So I am a Flutter engineer. And the reason I started well-tested AI because I was facing testing as a consistent problem. I mean, when we were working as a team, we were spending weeks and months building an application, getting a feature ready. But when it was time to push that feature out, when we were deploying it on Play Store and App Store, I used to be super nervous. I was not confident that what we have built will actually perform. I was worried that some users will face some issues running it, the application will break on certain devices, and we are going to have to urgently put a hot fix. And I am sure I am not the only one with this fear. So who of us here can relate with the feeling that you worked hard on building an application, but when deploying, you are still not super confident or you're worried to some extent? By show of hands, who has gone through this feeling? I think all of the hands are almost raised, and to the people who never go through that feeling, we would love to know your secret. But, and this is not uncommon at all. Annually, 5 million mobile engineers of us suffer through this syndrome, which is called pre-deploy panic syndrome. And yeah, I think all of us can relate to it. But I mean, what's going wrong? All of us have spent a lot of time building the application. We have written the best code we could. So why are we worried? Like, why are we still not sure? And Benjamin Franklin said a very good thing, that by failing to prepare, we are actually preparing to fail. So what happens is, the reason that we are stressed is because we have not prepared ourselves for what is coming next. And by this, what I mean is that if we have built an application, we have not been able to test all the features in every scenario a user would use it. On top of it, we do not test on all the possible devices that our users will be using it on. And since we have not prepared ourselves, we are of course stressed, and we are of course thinking and worrying about this. But what's the solution to this problem? And this is where code testing comes into the picture. Code testing has been there since the birth of software engineering, and it always goes by hand in hand when you write code. We, in fact, are actually lucky that we have a very solid testing framework. As Flutter developers, we can use unit tests to make sure that the functions that we have written, they are all logically behaving and working the way we want. With widget tests, we can make sure that every widget that we have in the application is actually rendering correctly when the state of the app changes. When a validation password error is shown, that error actually displays and the user sees it. All of this can be tested with widget test. And when all of that is there, to combine all of this, we have integration test where the application actually opens up and goes through a whole flow to make sure that the flow is working from a user's perspective. When we have all of these things in place, which is basically test coverage, when we have 100% test coverage, we can run these tests on multiple devices, and we know that the application we have created is super solid and it's going to work. While now the question is that all of this sounds very good in theory. Code testing, we have all heard about it. We know it has been around for a long time. It's not a new thing. We know it solves the problem. But still, almost most of us are not able to adopt it. And what's the reason to that? The problem with manually writing code tests is that they take a lot of time. You can basically spend up to weeks and months writing code tests for the features you have written. Even after spending that much time for writing these code tests, when you make any changes in your code, you have to actually update your existing code tests that you have written, which is even bigger task. And since all of this is so time-taking, so effort-taking, most of the teams, even large enterprises, are not able to have sufficient coverage. And that's why code testing today, like with manually, is definitely not practical. And that's the reason we are not able to adopt it. And this is the problem we solve at Welltested AI. At Welltested, we have built a autopilot that takes the pain away of writing these code tests from you, the developer, to AI, which is acting as the autopilot. With Welltested, you can generate all these code tests for your code base automatically within minutes. And not just generate, whenever you generate a test with Welltested, these are auto-maintained. So if you make any change in your code base, you can basically run the same command, and the tests will automatically update themselves, and you can just run them out of the box. So this basically saves a lot of your time, which allows you to actually think about adding test coverage to your code base and makes code testing actually practical in real-world scenario, and that is what our session today is about. Now, I've told you that well-tested can do a lot of good things, and it can power pack your code testing journey. But we can't believe what I'm saying. We have to actually see it happen. So let's generate some unit tests. Sorry. Yeah. So with me, I have a small e-commerce application that I've built called Let's Hop and Shop. And in this e-commerce application, I have a discount manager class, which has a apply discount function. It's taking in some inputs, user ID, calculating loyalty, applying some discount, and getting us the output back. Now, if I want to write a unit test for this, it's a single unit of code, and I will wanting to write a unit test for it. What I will do is, I'll go to my test folder. I'll create a file called discount manager dot underscore test dot dart. I'll start by creating a main file. And my first task is going to be to think of test cases, and then I'll have to write those test cases in reality. This is the manual way, which we are actually not going to do today. So I'll delete this file because we are not going to need it. And I'll go to my discount manager class, and I'll simply add the annotation at the rate well tested to it. Okay, seems like we are missing a Flutter pubget. Beautiful. Yeah, here we have it. So the annotation here basically marks that every function inside the class discount manager has to be unit tested by our AI autopilot. Now I can just go to my CLI and run well-tested generate unit. Now, in the background, the CLI will actually read the code under the annotation. Along with that code, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, zoom. Yeah. So the CLI is reading the code, it is passing to our AI backend, and then we see that something has came up in the test folder, a file called apply discount dot well-tested test dot dart. Okay, this looks good. So sorry. What we are waiting for is along with the file, Welltested is also creating the required mocks which we need to simulate different conditions. Now that all of this is there, I'll just remove an extra import, and this is the final output. As you can see, the test for all, the well-tested has already thought of what are the possible test cases we can use for this function, and it's automatically written a human-like code for those particular test cases. It has mocked the user service, passed it in the discount manager class, simulated the values, called the function, and have set an expectation accordingly. All of it on autopilot. Now, as a developer, all I have to do is just run these tests and view them in the test result or debug console. So all the tests are passing, and this basically is a testament that the function that I've written, the code I've written, is actually working as it should be, and I can move to the next task. So this is how well-tested works in action. So now that you have seen it, I'd like to share some of our story of building well-tested and why it's something unique. So we started building well-tested in January this year when Chat